Sorry I can't be there today, but what you guys are going to be doing after you finish editing those 10 photos using Photoshop and following the directions is you're going to be layering a bunch of photos together. So you're going to be using the layers function. If you don't have layers on Photoshop, you can get that if you just click on window and then layers and it'll pop up. But right now we just have a normal photo, and so that shows up as our background photo. It's locked right now, so you can't really do anything with it. You can unlock it if you want, and then you can turn your eyeball on and off. That'll let you actually see what layers you're working with. So what we're going to be doing is taking cutouts and taking photos and adding those photos onto our background layer and kind of making one giant image. What that's going to look like is something like this. So if we look at our layers for this image, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 cutouts on top of this background, this waterfront photo. So I'm going to throw those back on here. So you're going to be looking through the photos that I gave you on Google Classroom. And those are photos to edit. So you have all these photos. The first thing you need to do is pick a photo for your background layer. So whatever photo you want to add cutouts on top of. And so this is one I've chosen just to kind of demonstrate what you'll be doing. And then what you'll do is you'll choose what you want to cut out of the other images. So you need to pick 5 images that you want to cut somebody out. So you could cut out puppies, people, all sorts of things. You're going to choose 5 photos that you want to cut something out, and then you'll do those cutouts. Like I have Kai over here cut out. And once you've finished your cutout and you've deleted the background using your magic eraser, so there's no background, you'll come over here to your marquee tool, and you will click and drag it over your cutout, and then you will copy it. So Command plus C is copy. And then you're going to go back over to your photo, and Command V will paste your image. So here's our little cutout of Kaya. You'll notice sometimes when you paste it, your image might be way too big or way too small. You'll need to resize it. And you can do that by clicking on Edit, Transform, Scale. So now when I hold Command, because you need to hold Command so you don't warp the image, you can make your image bigger or smaller, however big you want it. I want Kaya to look like she's kind of running in the background maybe. So I'm going to shrink her a little bit. And then you need to press enter. Now that doesn't mean you can't go back and resize it. You totally can. And when you have this top button selected, you can move your cutouts along. Now the whole point of this project is so that you guys get used to using the layers function. So we click on layers, we see our base layer, our married couple, and then we see our top layer, that cutout of the dog. And so you can, again, turn on those eyeballs to see those layers a little bit more clearly. All right, and then once you have other layers in here, so let's look back at the example. So this one has a bunch of layers. Once you have your other layers on here, you can kind of choose what order they go in, and that's important. Let's say we had the Grand Canyon. That's these guys. Let's say we had them underneath the waterfront. Well, now we can't see them because the waterfront is actually our background layer. So you're actually putting photos and cutouts on top of each other, laying them down on top of each other. So it's important that you have them in an order that makes sense. And then the last thing that you need to do for this project, once you have all 5 of your cutouts on here, is you're going to use the text tool. So that's right here, a little type tool. And you will click and drag, and you need to add some form of a text or some form of text. I'm not really too concerned with what you say. This looks massive right now because I have it at 1,000 points. Let's drop that to maybe 100 and see what that looks like. Okay, much better, much more readable. Example text. You can change your fonts. It's not going to give you as much manipulation as you get in InDesign, but you definitely do have the ability to change your fonts, change your text size, that kind of thing. You can decide if you want it centered or whatever. And I'm going to use my marquee tool or my little mover tool up here to decide where I want that. And now when I look on layers, my text tool or my text is behind the boat, or it's underneath the boat. So that means if I move it behind the boat, it's going to be behind the boat. And that's kind of a cool design thing to do sometimes, to have your text kind of behind your cutouts. It's kind of fun to play with. So feel free to do that. Get your example text wherever you want it. It doesn't have to be massive. And you're just going to play around with trying to get these things layered. Oh, and you'll notice, I don't know if you did notice, the Grand Canyon is below the boat right now. And so we've cut off this girl's head. So we actually need to move the Grand Canyon to be on top of the boat. There we go. So that we're not dealing with those cut out heads. All right, so that is your task for today. Once you finish editing those other 10 photos, when you finish or when class ends, make sure you save this file as a PSD, a Photoshop file. Do not save it as a JPEG. If you save it as a JPEG, it'll flatten your image, which means you won't be able to edit it anymore. So when you're saving it, file, save as, it's probably already going to be a PSD. It's going to be a Photoshop file automatically, so you shouldn't have to change anything. Just make sure that you are saving it as a PSD. All right, you guys should be good to go. I will see you tomorrow.